Ethan and I and Linda have worked on repairing this railing that was loose and wobbly, and now we're going to check and see, is it stable. Don't look at that part, just this part up top. Okay, we ready? First you put all of your weight and your strength on it this way. Okay, so that's pretty good there. Now we're going to try to pull it out of the wall. I would say a 12-pound child cannot remove this from the wall.
So it's Andy-proof and child-proof.
Oh, that's a high rating.
Essentially the same thing. Hi everybody, it's Andy, Bad Dad Adventures. And before we get started on this video, I just wanted to take a second and say thanks to everybody who's watching. And I also wanted to give a little insight into this video. So we spent a week at the Carter Christian Academy in Hitchens, Kentucky. And our contact there was a man named Mike Hay. And he was there from the beginning of the school's foundation and has been indispensable in putting that together. And he was kind of our point of contact for that week. And as you can see in the video you're about to watch, he loves to talk about his school. He loves to talk about his God and how the two of those things kind of came together. And well, they are where they are today because a group of people had faith in God with what some might say were some pretty insurmountable odds, and yet they got it done. Really enjoyed talking to him, and I hope that you enjoy listening to him talk and seeing some of the additional footage from some of the work we did there during the week. Thanks for watching Bad Dad Adventures.
I'm Michael Hay, servant of God, and at this point my primary mission is Carter Christian Academy, along with my church. When I retired, God put me into full-time at Carter Christian, and we are here there now, and I will give a brief history on Carter Christian Academy. We incorporated in '97 into two local churches. We're non-denominational, so two churches took over the role, and I was blessed to be part of one as a trustee there. So immediately from the beginning, I was the buildings guy. I was one that got to help remodel my church and get it to code, which was a preliminary for where we are now. But at Grace and Free Will, we shared the building with the school, and the whole thing with all my service here is how God works through volunteers and through service to so many people and through so many ways. And same thing when we were remodeling Grace and Free Will. So many volunteers came to make all that possible. We live in a small rural community. The largest town has less than 10,000 people in this county, and the one we are situated in now probably has less than 1,000. But God give us where we are at this point in time, and our service here is He's directed, and so we're blessed to be able to serve Him in this manner. But for the first 15 years, CCA was hosted by them two churches, and I was blessed that I taught junior age kids. They were middle schoolers, and on Sunday I teach Sunday school, and we arranged the desks so that on Monday morning they would have school. And some of the kids that I taught for Sunday school actually were in school the next morning, sitting in the same seat as what they left that day. So God blessed us at the church for an opportunity to serve Him for this school. The founders seen a need and a desire to have their children taught not just a good education, but a Christ-centered education. And our mission statement here at Carter Christian Academy is to provide a secure, Christ-centered environment where students will be able to acquire a thorough knowledge of God, develop Christian character, and receive a excellent academic education. That's our motto back in '97. It's still our mission statement today. But as time went on, and after about 15 years, we seen the need at CCA to have our own facility. And unbeknownst to us, God had a place for us. We looked around for a couple, 3 years, and we just couldn't find the place. And it wasn't until Edward Isaacs come to us one day wanting to give a donation, and found out we needed more than a donation. We needed a facility, a campus. And he presented us with this wonderful campus that we're at now. And it was a WPA built building, a stone building, built in the 30s. The first class was in 39. But Edward come to us and said, I have a building. And of course the amenity of this property was way above our abilities, but he said, I'll help. I'll help with the remodeling and restoration.
And so how much did you pay for the building?
This 3-acre campus with a 10,000 square foot or 9,600 square foot upper and then lower level, a full gymnasium, a cafeteria, other outbuildings, we was donated free.
For free.
For free. In 2002, the last public school was held here. 2007, they auctioned off. The desire at the time was from 2 different entities, was to take the stone that the building was made out of and tear them down. And one was going to build a house, and the other was going to sell them for a profit. But some people found out their intentions and had it listed on a historical site, so it couldn't be torn down. So thankfully, God working as He has throughout to prevent it from being torn down, God knew that 4 years later it would be the home of the Carter Christian Academy. And that we had. They donated it to us in 2011, and we started working that winter in the spring renovation building. The architects that had already been working created a plan to make it state, bring it up to state code, electrical, plumbing, energy, all those things. And the engineers and architects presented a plan, and the state approved it. And the estimated cost was going to be $250,000, and take many, many months to complete. And this was in like December 2011, and school started in August 2012.
So your first class of CCA kids that came through here was 2012.
2012, yes, sir. And when we 2012, 2013.
Right.
Actually graduated.
So this is your kind of 10-year anniversary then, I guess.
We celebrated it.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Our 25th anniversary we celebrated with a gala in the gym, and also our 10th on this campus.
Very cool.
But when we seen the $250,000 figure, a man was shocked, but God just knew all along. He had plans. So we studied it, didn't think we could afford it, and one of the things, and God has worked here so many times, that it's evident to us that's been here that this is a God place. He designed it. He wanted this from the time it was a public school someday to be a Christian school where all kids are raised with the knowledge of Him. Bible is a class just like ABCs, just like math and science. Every kid leaves here with a thorough knowledge of God. It's your choice what to do with it, but we expect they leave here God-fearing, serving Christians. But everyone has their own choice and makes their own decisions.
And of that $250,000, you raised double that, right?
The $250,000 was labor plus materials. So we sat down, another gentleman, I'm Roger Roddy, was his name. We both on the board and both the facility people. And we sat down and we went all over looking for a building of our own, all about the community, looking for modulars, everything. And God just kept us busy till this one was ready.
Yeah.
And when it was, and it was presented to us, we went to work on it. But we sat down and figured, and know if we cut the half the cost that normally goes with one through labor, we're still looking at $125,000 or so dollars. So we first thought we couldn't afford it, but God kept saying, yes you can, yes you can. Which one of those days he met with us to affirm that. As a board, there was 9 members, and the president and 4 that were inclined to be for it, take this property, or 4 to take a different property. And I remember talking with the board president at that time, he said that was a terrible strain on his thought, just breaking that tie of where to take this property or a different one. And we come into that meeting divided. But we was just in that meeting for just a very short while before the Holy Spirit came and settled the question. It was one of those times when you know God was there. And we voted unanimously to accept his property, and we started from there. And then, and that's a little bit behind myself, but the 250 was what the architects said, and we figured we could whittle it mostly in half. It still left a big amount, and at the time we had $50,000 in our building account, so we was way short of that. So Roger and I went to the banks, the 2 local banks, and they was going to do a community fund to help us with what we needed to complete the building. And so we said, okay, so we started to work with our $50,000, and so we got electricians and roofers and plumbers involved. And the electricians we employed, his daughter had went to CCA through 8th grade, and at that point it's as high as we went. So he came one day, we asked him, and he came and toured the building, and instead of charging us, he educated us. He said, I can tell you what you need to do, so your volunteers working through electrician can get this accomplished. And so we went to work. Roger took the electrical side, and Bob, the JMK Electric, they hooked us up with the electrical supplier to get the stuff we needed, and they sold us stuff at cost. And not only that, they talked to some of their suppliers and got most of the wire that we needed donated, over $1,300 worth of wire. We had donations come in from all over. Christian Appalachian Project was big about supplying stuff. We had no installation and needed 9,600 square feet of R30, and went up there, and while there, 1 month, I looked and seen installation in the warehouse, and I inquired on it. He said, how much you need? And they come back and said, when you come to get it. So God provided throughout constantly. And I know we don't have enough time to talk about them all, just hitting the high points. But God made it apparent, and still does, as with the group here today, that in this summer, that it's very obvious that He's here.
So the work that's been done on the building itself has all been volunteer,
Mostly.
other than the electrical.
There's some of the stuff, the electrical was supervised by a licensed contractor electrician. The plumbing was one we had to do all to the licensed plumber, but he done it for about half cost, and that was materials more than labor. There again, Christian man, God sent him.
Yeah.
God sent him. And but when we finished the project, the 250 we whittled down to 78,000. And this comes from all volunteers, or mostly volunteers, people donating from electrical to insulation to little things. And we had the $50,000 in the bank. When we finished spending the 78, we still had $3,000 in the bank. Never had to borrow any. So
Very nice.
God's good.
Yes,
God's
sir.
good.
Yes, sir.
Thankfully, we had people that realized we didn't have to worry about anything, but then mindful of dollars, we had that concern. But God had planned out all along. We just had to follow and go. And the work that had to be done was intensive. We had volunteers that come from all over. A church group from Indianapolis, Indiana come. There's 17 of them. Reminds me of this group here today. Andrew.
Oh no, I'm in trouble. He called me Andrew. I'm in trouble.
His grandfather. We called him Andrew too. So, but anyway, they come to work. They come to do the job, and the job they come. It was at the very end of the process. We had school getting ready to start, and the hallways and the rooms were all a mess. I needed people to come and do nothing but move furniture from one place to another, or to the gym, or to wherever, storage, whatever. That little group from Indianapolis, church group, moves stuff. Now they move the stuff. Kind of reminds me of this group, you guys. So thankful. But they were just as important as the licensed plumbers. Because had they not been there to move the stuff at that given time, we would have probably not opened on time. So the size of the group, the age of the group, the skills of the group is all about the timing and the purpose. And so thankful. But so God took the 250 and done it with 78, and the money was there when it come time to pay the bills. And
What a story. That's
God's-
amazing.
It is, and it's all about volunteers. They was people that, I remember one gentleman that came with his grandson. He wanted him, teaching him servitude, and brought his grandson to help, and he was putting in lights, and he was electrician, and he come with his grandson a couple weekends, and he stayed all summer. He said, my church down the road about 25 miles, and he come and stayed all summer with us. He enjoyed the fellowship and doing God's will, and he was that man that we needed for that. And God sent him from all over. Last count, and I tried to keep them all down, was 117 volunteers from all over. And when we had a need, God sent them. It was just a tremendous working of the Lord, and still is. The gymnasium that 5 years ago, we had flooding. There's a fourth of it missing. Just unreal the amount of work that needed to be done. With the benefactor, Edward Isaacs, that was the one that gave us the original property, come to us, wanted to know if we wanted to reconstruct the gym. And I said, well, sure. We just don't have no money. He said, you do the work. I've seen what you all can do with volunteers. I'll supply the work. So we went about getting contracts for the ceiling, for the electrical, for the HVAC, and we went on faith, and he paid the bills when it's time to pay, and we wrote the contracts, and we have got a gym that God built.
Yeah.
I wish I had the pictures, and I have them, but if they're saved from the computer where I can get them, if it ain't crashed to the point I can't. But it was a scary building to walk in. The fourth of the floor was gone. The foyer where you come into the building rained so much that there's more water come down inside the building than was out. But the architects gave us a plan, and that we did more. More it was done from monies because the roofs was roofer's job and electrical and all that. We done all the cleanup, the sanding, the painting, any of the manual work we could do, we did. But then there was so much God in that too. We had a beautiful building, and as great as the benefactor was, he wasn't an athletic guy. He was a numbers guy. And it's a little bit about him, maybe if time allows, but he didn't see a need for a big fancy floor. He seen sports as a good recreation, but not as important as it is to a school. And so as we was contemplating how to complete that floor, a gentleman walked in one day, and of course he'd been a friend to the school for many, many years, and we was debating on how to make an acceptable floor. And we was trying to figure out how to turn a sow's ear into a silk purse, and that we wouldn't come up with no plan. And he said, "What do you need?" I said, "Well, we've got a bid for $46,000 for an awful pretty floor." And he said, "Build it." So we did. And, it's a beautiful floor that God sent him to finish the project. And it just continues on and on and on. The atmosphere here with God, with the people, with the kids, we're just blessed. And we're in a small rural community. The income here is well below average. It's a bedroom community. Most people have to leave to find work, either in adjoining states or counties. And if you're not an educator or healthcare professional, you're in the service industries working for restaurants and grocery stores and such. But this is Appalachia. We're better than some, but yet we are still the outskirts of Appalachia, the foothills of the mountains, and without support from folks, we can't survive. Anyone working here and serving here, it's a ministry. You're not here unless you feel a servitude to God and people, because the pay is way less than average, and I wish we could pay our teachers better, but we can't, and they understand that when they come. And they come as a service in a ministry of their own.
Well, it's been a pleasure serving your school this week, and there's some discussion that we usually don't try to go to a place more than once, but we may be back next year.
Well, I'll be glad to have you.
So
there's never an end to work to be done, and when work needs to be done, God sends them. I kind of hope it might be you guys.
we'll see. All right. Thank you, Mike.
Thank you.